Hello, James. He says, thanks for hosting. Yes, of course. So I just love talking about business, starting a business, growing a business, scaling a business, like all the things. I love entrepreneurship and just everything about it. Got sawdust on me. Just everything about it. So I'm that person, like, I'm at a party, I don't really know what to talk about, but I can talk to you all day about entrepreneurship. Um, so, hey, you know what I mean? It's just my cup of tea. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Danette, Jason, Debbie. Hello from West Virginia. Hello, hello. Thank you everybody for hopping on. Super exciting. And I really wanted to do this too because there's so many people just kind of like held back from starting what they want to do. And once you just kind of realize there's a few things that you need to have in place that to get going, like that's all you need. That's, you know what I mean? I want you to come, be from a place of maybe you're not sure what to do, and then you can start taking action. And the 5 things I'm going to talk about today, you don't have to do all of them all at once. You can start with a couple and then you work as you go. One thing I always tell myself, and I can tell other people too, is sometimes you just wing it as you go. Okay. And that's one of those pieces of advice that, I heard somewhere, who knows where, that just sometimes you're not going to have it all figured out. Sometimes you just have to take that step and then figure it out as you go. And quite frankly, had I tried to have everything always figured out all the time before starting something, I probably never ever would have started. So just remember that. Always remember that sometimes you just gotta figure it out as you go along. And you will, even if you have it all figured out, you still have to refigure things out as you go along, which you will know. Hello, Deanna, Stephanie, Kim, Jason. Jason says, I started my woodworking business 2 weeks ago and I'm so happy. I got my first 2 sales yesterday. Well, congratulations. So had you not started, you would not have got those sales. So congratulations to you. That is awesome. Okay, y'all. And in case you're wondering, like you may be new to my page, I have a membership where I teach woodworking projects. And within there, every month, there's, new project tutorials that I release to members. Prior to that, I still sell here and there, but I used to be a full-time Etsy seller. And I started, what did I sell? Basic stuff. Cake stands, just basic boxes. I sold as cake stands and cupcake stands. And that just grew, which I intentionally grew it, but they were very basic products. And what I love about my Etsy story is that it's not like I had some $1 million idea. I was just making things that people wanted. It's as simple as that. It really is. And people want to buy cute stuff, they want to buy stuff that fits their decor, fits their needs, whatever. So that's what I like about selling like wood crafts. I kind of look at it a little bit differently. People think you need to have something totally unique or totally different or this and that. And that's not the case. You really just need to have stuff that people want to buy. And why would people want to buy something? Because it's cute. It's in their house, serves a purpose. There's multiple reasons. All right. So let's dive into it. Hey, there's 5 things that you need to get started. So the first one, and we're talking about woodworking businesses, which any business, you're going to need the next 4 things. But if you're in the woodcraft business, you're going to have some tools. Because every project, you're going to have to cut your wood, sand your wood, and assemble it. And then you're going to have to stain it, okay? So there's all kinds of, as we know, industrial shops out there producing really awesome things. But guess what? You don't need all that. What's great about making wood crafts and seasonal decor is you need basic tools. So what I always recommend to people is a miter saw, which is behind me here. I have a DeWalt. I have a 12-inch sliding miter saw. I didn't start with that one. That's a big saw. I used to have a 10-inch, and it was not a slider. And it's still kind of my favorite saw. Super easy to use, just it's a little smaller. I like that one. Anyway, had that one forever, okay? So you don't have to have a slider or anything. And then, like I said, we need to sand our wood. So I have an orbital sander. And I also recommend, obviously, an orbital sander. A belt sander, don't need, those little mouse sanders. They don't really do that much, so don't even waste your time with those. Just get an orbital sander. You go to Harbor Freight or Home Depot, Menards. They have cheaper ones. I always say too, don't think you have to get like name brand stuff. You can get the cheaper stuff now because, hey, upgrade later. And I still do that. I'm getting ready to upgrade my bandsaw pretty soon, which I'm excited about. So, I realized that I really want something different than what I have now. And you'll have those same, realizations. Sometimes people and I have a planer too, which I don't even have to use it because all of my wood I buy, it's already planed. I buy finished wood. I don't buy rough lumber. So I don't need a planer. Karen says, why do you prefer orbital sanders? Well, as opposed to like a mouse sander, an orbital sander, well, first of all, it's like a variable one. So the way it works, it's not supposed to leave swirl marks, which you still have to move it across your wood. But it's very, it's faster. So if I'm comparing it to a mouse sander, those little tiny things, those don't really do much. They pretty much just vibrate. So a orbital is moving around though, so you can sand a lot faster. I have a belt sander. I never use it because I don't have that rough of wood to ever sand. Like I said, the lumber I buy, it's finished. The pine 1x4s that I get at Home Depot and Menards, they're planed and actually sanded a little bit. I sand them more, so I don't have to use a big sander. I think hopefully that answers your questions. Show us the sander, Dora says. Well, sure thing. I got it right here because I'm in my wood shop. I have a DeWalt orbital sander, and mine's the plug-in type. I do not like the battery ones because the battery ones the battery is very heavy. If you are sanding like an hour or for 4 hours a day, then that weight it really adds up. So I always do the corded one because it's easy. It's just easy. You just plug it in. You don't have to worry about the battery. But it's just more lightweight. So I like an orbital, and I've used a DeWalt brand. This might be my second one. I just like it. And yeah, there are nicer brands. I know. I just like that one though. So Deanna says, I didn't have an orbital sander prior to joining this group. I did finally get an orbital sander, and it is a game changer. Yes. So Casey says, yes, the battery makes your hand hurt. That is for sure. Debbie, yes, this will be posted on replay, of course, so you can watch it later. All right, so we're back to tools: miter saw, sander, and then once your projects, whatever you're working on, you have to assemble them somehow. So you're going to need a narrow crown stapler or a brad nailer or a drill so you can fasten screws. Jason says he got hardwood beams for hours before I got a joiner. Oh gosh, yeah, I can only imagine. So yeah, if you're using rough lumber or reclaimed, a joiner or planer definitely is needed. So like I said, if we're assembling your projects, you need a narrow crown stapler or a brad nailer. I always tell people I prefer a narrow crown stapler, which I have the Porter cable one. Do I have staples in here? Yeah. Air powered, but a staple is going to be a better hold than a brad nailer. And a brad nailer has a special time and place. When I want a less visible nail head, I will use a brad nailer. But if somebody asks me, I say narrow crown stapler, okay? And then you also want a drill, just a drill, so that you can fasten screws, because if you're using 2x4 lumber making a project like the 2x4 Christmas trees up here, you want to use screws or nails. You can't use brad nails, they'll fall apart. But then in the middle, that herringbone tree, that's a project for my membership. You want to use brad nails for that one, or a crown stapler for that one. So they have their place. You know, if you need strength, you have to use screws. Little lightweight stuff. Here's another example of a lightweight project. This is all brad nails. Deanna asks, can you get that narrow crown stapler that is not air powered? Yes, I'm not sure about Porter cable. But I'm sure, like I know does Ryobi have one? I'd have to look. I'm pretty sure you can, but I have to double check that. So I like air powered because the battery, sometimes, I don't know, I feel like the battery ones want to jam more. I don't know what it is. So I just like air powered. It's consistent, it's reliable. Sometimes if the battery powered ones get low on the battery, I just don't have to deal with that. So, but like I said, just you get what works for you. Okay. All right. So we kind of gone over the basic tools, and yes, there's a lot more like smaller ones, but that's like the gist of the power tools. Kathy, you bought a pin nailer. Maybe I should upgrade. Yes, pin nailers don't do much. Those are for basically putting more like very small, lightweight pieces. Like if I have a very, very small trim piece, I don't think I have anything like right by me right now. But if something really small, I will use a pin nailer. Because they're pretty much headless, you don't even see them, but it's not a lot of strength whatsoever. Jennifer says, I love my Ryobi nailer. Yes, it can jam more than air power though. Yeah, so it's just like, it's just kind of a caveat. But for my house, like I have a air powered brad nailer. It's a Milwaukee brand, and I like it because I'm doing trim work in my house, which I'm always doing trim work in my house for some reason. I don't have to lug an air compressor, so it is definitely super handy. Okay. All right, great questions, guys. Okay, so the second thing that you also need when starting your business, and this is kind of taking it from hobby to business, is you need not just a workspace, but a dedicated workspace. I have a work table. It's a 4x8. It's plenty of space. There's a shelf on the bottom, and that allows me to have like kind of all my things scattered around and an area for me to work at. All right. And as you go, like behind me, like I have a miter saw table, obviously that's super handy, but just having a workspace that is designated for you and nothing else. If you have one of those tables that you have to like fold up or fold out and wheel outside, or I don't know, do all these things just to cut a board, how often you're gonna like talk yourself out of doing it because it's just so much work to do it. You know what I mean? There's all these friction points. So that's what I like to say, have something that's accessible. And I know a lot of people just work out of their garages, which is fine, but have an area or do something where it's easy for you to go out there. And then you want some room for storage because you're going to have some wood and you're going to have some finished products and you're going to have like some stain, as well. I do know you always need more storage than what you think because that's how it is. But anyway, you want something dedicated that is yours, and make sure you tell your spouse, like, hey, it's really important that I have this area for me because I want to be efficient. When I come out to work on a project, I may only have 2 hours. The toddler's napping. I have 2 hours. You know what I mean? I can't do like all this prep work just to get started. Because if it takes an hour to get rolling, and then you have to stop. And I know you know what I'm talking about. When you go to start something and it takes like an hour to even get started, it's just hard to do. So you'll find yourself not even doing it because it's just so much work. So try to get a workspace just for you. All right. Well, hi, Faith. Okay, so we got those things. And those are kind of obvious. But the third thing is, when I first thought of it, it was a way to take payments. But it's actually a little bit more than that. You need an easy way to take payments. People need to be able to pay you super duper easy, as if putting butter on a piece of bread. It needs to be smooth and easy, because if it's not, people won't buy from you. Make sure you're able to take cash or have Venmo or PayPal or something. There's a lot of people who don't ever have cash on them. So it doesn't matter if you are selling to your neighbor or at a craft show, you have to have some kind of payment system, payment processor that you can take any kind of payment. And this may sound obvious, but it's overlooked a lot. A lot of people think that you're easily accessible, but in fact, you're not. And even at shows, pretty much standard. Everybody will takes a card payment somehow. But if you are like cash only, you're going to be missing out on a lot of sales. And now Venmo and PayPal, like, they have business accounts you can get as well. So if you're worried about, well, how am I going to mix, personal expenses with business sales or whatever, you can get separate accounts. And by the way, I started a separate checking account for when I started doing shows. I started a separate checking account that I knew sales were coming in. I could see expenses going out, and that's really going to help you. And that's one of those steps. If you're taking your hobby from hobby to business, you really need to separate your money, because that becomes very clear, if you're profitable or if you're not, where's your money going, what money is coming in. Having that separate checking account, super duper handy, okay? Just make sure that it's an easy way to take payments and it's not something difficult. If you have friends that you post, say you just post stuff on Facebook and somebody wants to order, if there's like all these hoops to jump through, like, well, yeah, we can meet up for payment, and then I can take your, write down your details, and then we can, meet here, but only on this certain day, or, just like all these hoops to jump through. It's not easy for them. Probably not going to buy from you if it's just too much trouble. Just think about that. What do you do when you say you're in bed in your pajamas, you're scrolling on your phone, and you find something like on Pinterest or Target or Walmart, and you're like, oh my gosh, that is so cute, or I gotta have that. and you will go to put it in your cart and you purchase, go to checkout, and they don't take PayPal. They want your credit card number. And you don't really feel like getting up out of bed because your bed's nice and warm and walking to get your credit card out of your purse and putting the numbers in, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of times those carts just become abandoned. So that's why have a PayPal option if you're selling online, okay? Have multiple forms of payment. Yes, Jamie, Venmo has business and personal for a reason. And I'm going to say if you consistently have sales coming in on your personal account, it will probably show a red flag at some point. I would do a business account. I'm sure there's probably some fees you have to pay, which is why people don't want a business account, but you need to just increase your price just a little bit to cover those fees. So that's what I always did. Like with Etsy, increase your pricing just a little bit, enough to cover those fees, so that's not actually eating your profit margin. All right. Okay. Now, the fourth thing that you need to start your woodworking business is traffic, because you need eyeballs on your stuff. You're thinking, what? Traffic? How do I get traffic? Well, that's the $1 million question. Posting on your personal Facebook page is not a high traffic place. So if you post on your page, or if you have a business page and you have 200 followers and you post on your business page and you're wondering why you're not getting any sales, it's because you don't have enough people there. There's an empty room. So let's think about this. You could have the best product in the whole entire world at the best price, everything. But if nobody sees it, nobody's going to be able to buy it. But on the flip side, you could have like an okay product that's not even that great. But if you have millions of people that view it, chances are you'll probably get a few sales. So you got to have people looking at your stuff, or else you're not going to have any sales. I don't know if you've ever heard of the term conversion rate, but if you are an Etsy seller or an online seller, period, everybody has a conversion rate, and those are different for products, for company, whatever. But for, I think the standard is about, I'm probably going to butcher this. I was going to say 3%, but that might be too low. But we'll just go with 3%. But for every 100 people that view your product on Etsy, 3 people will purchase that. Okay. When I had my Etsy store, my conversion rate was lower. It was 1 to 2%, because my products were high priced. So the cheaper the product, normally you'll have a higher conversion rate, and the more expensive stuff, the conversion rate's a little bit lower. So for every 100 people that would view, let's say one of my cake stands, 1 to 2 people would actually purchase it. Okay. So let's talk about traffic, because you're probably wondering, where in the world do you get traffic? Because you just can't, you don't create it out of thin air. It takes time. In an Etsy shop, Etsy has built-in traffic. If you were to be a seller on Etsy, if you were to be a seller on Amazon, Amazon has built-in traffic. People pick up their phone and they go to Amazon and then they search. People pick up their phone, go to Etsy looking for handmade stuff, and then that means that they have their own traffic, okay? If you were to open your phone and go into Google and search for something and then go to that website, that Google is bringing you that traffic, okay? So there's a difference. If you started your own Shopify store And I'm going to say this example because I hear this all the time. If you were to start your own Shopify store, you're not going to have any traffic off the bat. It just doesn't work like that. You have to bring your own traffic. So where would you say, or where would you get traffic from if you just started your own website? Google search, which is hard to rank for. I mean, it can be done, but it takes a long time. Or Google ads, you can pay for ads. Or Facebook, you can grow your Facebook page, and then that is your traffic. You can grow an email list of customers, and that'd be your traffic. I'm trying to think of another one. Or even putting things out on Pinterest. Pinterest can bring you traffic back to your store as well. So there's different traffic sources that you can set up, but they do all take time. Any kind of organic traffic just takes a little bit of time. There's always organic traffic or paid traffic. You either pay to play, and it does work, but you're going to spend a lot of money. Or you can have organic traffic, which it takes a long time to build up an audience. Okay. In my Q&A today in my membership, I actually I gave an example. I was talking about like vintage markets versus like a regular craft show. A vintage market has a reputation for, high-end sales. Like all the vendors at a vintage market are going to be up to par. They are upscale. They are nice. There is stuff that you want to buy. When you go there, you want to buy. If you go to a regular craft, like a local craft fair, the vendors are not juried. They probably likely let anybody in. So at a vintage market, there's more traffic there, more high quality traffic, because those people are there to buy. They know that they're going there to buy. Whereas a local, the traffic's a lot lower. People don't travel as far to get there. It may not have a good reputation. Maybe the traffic just isn't as high quality. So there's a difference in these traffic sources for local in-person selling. So that's something else to think about, okay? But regardless, you could be, like I said, have a great product, a great price, and be standing in a room, like 1,000 square foot room, and there's not a single person in there except a cricket. So you're not going to sell anything, all right? So you've got to get that room full of people one way or the other. There's different ways to do it, like I just explained, but that is so important. You just have to have those eyeballs. Rami says, my accountant said from day one, the first sale is technically taxable income. Yeah, whatever sale you make, that is taxable income. And that's why it's important to keep track of it. So, for sure. Okay, so the fifth thing that you need to have in order to get your woodworking business jump started is a product line. So not just like a random group of products, but you want to have a product line. And a product line versus just a group of products is there's more thought. You are putting more thought into your product line. So there's different things, like when I am putting together things, or when people ask about like an Etsy store, what should they do? I would say you want to stick with something that is a very similar theme. So that could be the color palette, the style, because if somebody goes into your shop and they see something they like, they're likely going to look at other things, because if they like the first thing, they're like, well, this is my style. This is me. This fits in my house. What else does this seller have? So they're more likely to explore. And if your stuff doesn't look, cohesive, there's always a disconnect there. Like if you walk by a booth and somebody has like the most random stuff just kind of thrown in there, it just doesn't look good. It doesn't look curated. Like they don't like, it doesn't look like they put a lot of time or effort into that. So the presentation of your product line is super, super, super important. I always see people just like make one thing and like throw it out there like, oh my gosh, somebody want to, buy this. And it's like, no, like make like a trio of 3 things, make it look cute, curated. The way you present it will really help determine if people want to buy it or not. So quite frankly, if you have a style that is, let's say rustic, I would say stick with that. And there's different ways to go. But the thing I like about woodworking is we can do all kinds of different stuff. So for instance, I've got Christmas decor behind me up here. All right. So my stuff kind of has a very similar look to it. It can go along the lines of, rustic and farmhouse and all that. I don't paint with like light pink and you like the whimsical Christmas theme. You're not going to see that from me. I kind of like it. I like, seeing it in pictures and all that. But for me to actually make it, I'm not going to do that. But having a product line versus just products is a better setup for you. You also really want to make sure that it is stuff that you can replicate and take orders from. Anything that you do that's like one-off, like say you had reclaimed lumber, you can't make that exact thing again. So if you want to go online, you're going to take it a step further. You have to make stuff that you can replicate yourself. When I started selling on Etsy, I would get the order and then make it, but they all look like that image listing is very important. That's what people want. If somebody takes an order from you, if somebody's like, hey, let me just take this, for example. Say somebody wants to order this angel porch cleaner from me. So the back is pine. If I was like, I would be like, oh yeah, $48 and be ready in 3 days. Here's my Venmo address, whatever. Okay. And then I make it out of barnwood, and I don't really sand it or I do something different. The customer is going to get it and be like, what in the world? This is not what I ordered. It has to be exactly what you've done. So the one-off projects where people are using like scrap wood and things that they can't replicate, I always just kind of stay away from. Yeah, they're fun to do, but if you are really wanting to take it from hobby to business, you need to be more methodical about exactly what you're making and what you're selling. Plus, excuse me, it's more like every product you make, you want to go through like this is the cost, this is the price that I'm going to sell it for. You know what I mean? You got to think that takes time, and you want to make sure whatever you are selling is profitable. Of course, we want things that are low cost and high profit, and that's the name of the game. And as your quality goes up, you can ask higher prices too. The more you start to specialize in things, the more unique you'll be, more artisanal you'll be. And you don't have to go that route, but you can. So, but you'll never get there until you get started either way. But that's the thing. I just love woodworking because it can go so many different directions. I mean, you can specialize in so many different things, or you can just make the most basic stuff ever like I did. My cake stand boxes, they're literally a box. Sold, $100,000 every year of that stuff. So it doesn't have to be $1 million idea. Let's see here. I saw if you guys want to drop some questions now. So just to recap real quick, 5 things that you are going to work on: your tools, your workspace, an easy way to take payments, getting traffic, building your traffic, and then also building your product line. And you can just list out, I just get notebook paper and I brain dump stuff all the time. That's all you need to do. Write out what you like to make, what sells, what you think will sell, what has sold for you in the past, whatever has done good for you in the past. Keep doing that. Don't stop doing it, because it's likely going to keep selling. Like, that's, you guess, got to get that ball rolling, like that momentum, you know? Chrissy says, have you ever done a rustic project that you wish you could do more of that wasn't easy to replicate? Trying to think of this question here. So, wish you could do more of that wasn't easy to replicate. Well, probably anything big is usually not very easy for me. Like, my shop is kind of small. So I think anything super big, like I made a customer, what do you call it? Like a cash register area type thing. I made for a friend for a shop. And it was really cool, and could definitely sell it for, which I gave her a break because she's a friend. But something like that where it costs $200 and I could sell it for $600. Things like that. But it was just so big. It definitely probably took me like 2 days to finish it. So, let's see here. Michael says, I don't want to start a business. I just want to learn to make different things, maybe sell a few and get a few. Yeah. And that's a lot of people. Like, I know on this page, and in my membership too, there's, some are hobbyists and some want to sell, just make and sell. So there's always a mix. Either way. Natalie asks, how do you ship your larger items like that angel leaner? Well, this particular angel, it's like 4 feet tall. This one, if I was to ship it, I would have to detach the wings and have the customer put the wings on, because you can have a long, skinny box, but you don't want a long and wide box. So, like, I used to make an arch. It was an octagon arch, like 8 foot tall. And I made instructions so the customer would put the bolts in the arch. So that I ended up shipping a long, skinny tube, basically was like a stack of the boards. And that takes a lot of time and planning. But had I not done that, then there'd be no way you could ship an 8 foot by 8 foot arch. So you have to think of ways to condense it. So something like this. The way I know, because I always ship FedEx, on their conveyor belt, there's a certain size. Once you go over that threshold, the price jumps way up. And I want to say 3 foot wide, but then your length also kind of determines the factor too. So, like, anything super big, not the best thing to ship, although there's usually a way. If there's a will, there's a way. Like, you can usually figure it out. Chrissy says, I like to work with scrap wood and barn wood. That would not be easy to replicate. Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing about barn wood, is that it's very hard to do the same thing over and over again. So the only thing you would do, like say you were selling online, is take pictures of each one and then post those. Like, that'd be one-off projects. So, especially too, like if you get barnwood, that's not all the same. It's just it's all different. So actually I stopped working with barnwood a long time ago because it kind of aggravated me after a long time. So, Billy, I just got my hair done. Thank you. Chrissy, no, I don't do woodworking classes in person. Everything is online. So like in the membership, and I do free stuff on my page as well. Not everything's in the membership. Like the 2x4 tree, that's free. And you go, or I mean, sorry, I do like videos, video walkthroughs, and then also printable PDFs as well. So that some people like to learn video, some like to just read. There's just different learning styles, and I just try to accommodate all of those. But no, I don't do anything in person. Natalie asks, is there somewhere special you buy lumber or just Home Depot? Sometimes it seems hard to find good quality lumber. That is very true, because I always, if I go, because I have a Home Depot and Menards in my town, I will go there to either one. I seem to prefer Home Depot, but I will look and see if it's a fresh stock. Meaning, is it full? If you go and the pile just has a few boards, that means it's like just picked over. I don't even usually bother with it. But it's a fresh stock, you can find good boards. Most bunks have some bunks may all be like kind of junky, I guess, but depending on what I'm working on too. So most of my projects that I make, I cut down into shorter pieces. So if you have to have a really long straight board, I probably am not going to be looking in the pine section to begin with. Like if I'm doing trim work, say around a door frame or something, I'm going to do the upgraded level of pine, not level, what I'm trying to think of. There's the grades. I won't get the standard grade. I'll probably get a select grade. So the more money you pay, the nicer the boards are going to be. But for the cheap pine 1x4s, you can still search through the pile, and I can still find a lot of good straight boards. Do try to avoid any boards with the pith in the middle of it, because those will warp. Like they just will. And probably don't have one around here. I was going to say I could just grab one real quick with the pith in the middle of it. Wait, I think I see one. Yeah. Okay. So that is the pith, which this is a furring strip. So you're going to have that with this grade. This is like construction grade, like super duper cheap. The furring strips are, but that pith in the middle, that's the center of the tree. This is going to work, but see, I cut it in such a short piece. It doesn't matter. So I can use that for this. But if I was needed an 8-foot piece, no, not going to do that. Okay. Sandra asks, how do you handle freight charges? Well, I don't ship freight because they are very, very expensive. Once you go to the freight, you're looking at a couple $100s. That's why you want to get it the residential. You want to get the ground rates. So once your box, like I said, hits a certain dimensions, it will go to freight. We don't want to ship freight because that's a few $100s. Tammy, I am a monthly subscriber. I haven't figured out how to get to the blueprint page. Okay, Tammy, when you first joined, there was a welcome email sent to you. And in that welcome email is the link to the Facebook group and your login details to the online library. There's 2 places to get the monthly information. The online library always has everything, and the Facebook group has most of the stuff as well. So if like you're looking for Christmas stuff, it will always be in the online library. But right now, it's also in the Facebook group. Okay. And if you actually go into the group and ask, we can help you in there as well. Do you work with scroll saws? Yes, I do. In the membership, if that's what you're asking, we do scroll saw projects sometimes. Not all the time, because not everybody has a scroll saw. So I always try to keep it super minimal. I guess any bandsaw or scroll saw or jigsaw type of projects, those are usually bonuses. Like this Angel porch leaner, that was a bonus last year because it requires a jigsaw and not everybody, well, or a bandsaw, but not everybody has one. So I usually reserve those for bonuses. How would you ship the 2x4 Christmas trees? They wouldn't be, I'm trying to figure out where my tape measure is. They're not, let's see here. Actually, they're like 20 inches wide, 21 inches wide, and about 3 foot tall. So I would get a box that's 2 foot wide and 3 foot long. I think that would probably run you $30 to ship that. So I wouldn't try breaking that down for the customer to put together, although you could. But you might only save $10 to $15 on shipping, so that's not really worth it. So I would just get a box from Uline that's 2 foot wide and 3 foot long. Jason asks, I have a question I've been trying to settle on all day. Okay. Do you prefer water-based or oil-based stain and sealants? I use Minwax stains most of the time, which is oil-based. And I don't really have an exact reason. I guess I just have always bought them. I like the variety of them. Now there is a brand of water-based stains that I have been using. I get them from Home Depot. Maybe it's Bear brand. I'll have to check the can. And I really like those, honestly. So I think they're both fine. And I tell you what, the oil base, as long as it is dry and actually really dry, I put water-based clear coats over that and have never had any issues. So I know normally you think you have to have water-based with water-based, but I've mixed and matched with spar urethane and polyacrylic and never had any issues. So the only time I've had issues with clear coats, water-based on oil-based, is like Thompson's water sealer. I'll never use that stuff again. So, hope that helps, Jason. Kathy says Select Pine is an upgrade and is much more expensive, but so much nicer. Yes, it comes from a better part of the tree, or just better trees. I think there's like slow growth trees and fast growth. I'm trying to think, and like the way the different parts of the tree, like closer to the middle, and then on the outside. So the Select grade, I think, is on the outer part of the tree, and it's more stable, so it's less likely to warp, and actually, it just looks nicer. So yeah, upgrading your pine helps a lot. So if you're going to work on a nice project, I would upgrade. What kind of paint do you like to use on your projects? I use everything. I literally use everything. So I use chalk paint, I use house paint, whatever. If I'm going to do a lot of something, I'll buy the bigger containers of paint. So Billy says, how many sets of each product do you take to shows? I like to take a few of everything if I like it. If I make something and I don't like it, then I'm not going to worry about making multiples of it. But for instance, like somebody actually called these stars poinsettias today. I was like, yeah, that's actually pretty good. But I'm going to make I would make a few of those. I would make a few of everything. And I kind of like to add a little bit of variations too. And not just for the fact to do it, but so I can kind of see what maybe I like better, or see what people like better too. So, but I always like to take a few. My opinion is if somebody is walking by and they see something they like, they're probably going to stop and be like, oh, instead of like, I want this, they might be more like, which one do I want? Because they have a variety to choose from. But that's just my logic. I've kind of always done. Michael's doing the water paint thing. Paint staining, yes. So I'm doing it for owls right now. Well, that's very awesome. Cool. Yes, paint staining is one of my favorite things to do because it just has a really nice color to it. Jason says, okay. I'm trying to figure out if he wants to do min wax, oil-based 6 hours for another coat. Well, you're not going to get more coverage if you add a second coat of stain. So I wouldn't even, you're just wasting time. If you want it better, like a better, more color, I would just get a different shade. So what type of sealer do you like for projects that are painted white? I noticed some turn yellow over time. Oh yeah, I get this message all the time. You want to use a water-based clear coat. If you use oil-based, it will yellow. So just make sure it's a water-based clear coat. You can find that polyacrylic or a spar urethane. There's a water-based version as well. Okay. Last question. I'm gonna have to hop off here, guys. Veronica says, what are your thoughts for choosing the pricing for your items? What I like to do is take my materials, at like everything. So the wood, any like supplies, like so stain, maybe a couple dollars for nails or whatever. Put that all together and then times that by 2 or times it by 3. And that's going to be the range that I'm probably going to ask for that. Now, sometimes you can ask more than that. Sometimes you may have to adjust it lower depending on your market. For example, the 2x4 tree, it's just 2x4 wood. So it's like 10 foot of 2x4 wood, which is, I don't know, $4 here. So, and then plus some nails or screws, whatever you use, you know, so you're looking at like, we'll just say $10. So if you double that, that's 20. If you triple that, that's $30. $30 sounds like a good price locally. Now, if I was going to sell that online, I'm going to sell that not for $30. It will be like 40 or 45. So I always just take my materials and then times it by 2 or 3, see where I'm at, kind of work it like that. Roxanne, how did you make the winter wonderland up top? The herringbone tree, that is a membership project and that we made. So the SVG for that one is something that I just put on the top there. So Denise says the tutorial is on the website under training. Yes, thank you, Denise. Okay, guys. Well, I hope this training was informational. And like I said, thanks for hopping on. I really, really, really hope that, like I said, I love talking business. So I hope somebody gets a head start, jump start, goes for it. And I want to hear your success as well. And if you're watching the replay, feel free to drop questions below. I can go back and answer them later. Yeah, so, and like I said, Christmas season is here. So if you are ready to start your business, do it today. Like, do it now, because if you're going to sell so much more stuff in Christmas, like people want to buy Christmas decor, like people gobble it up. So capitalize on that. Start selling today, start selling tomorrow, do what you got to do, get going, get your feet wet. And then come next year, you're going to be even more ready. And then you'll be ready, not just what today is October 22nd. You'll be ready October 1st come next year, right? Every year we get better. We totally get better. So, oh, everybody's saying thank you. Well, thank you guys. Like I said, I love to talk about this stuff. So, all right. I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day. Oh, Denise says, thank you for all your ideas and advice. I will watch the replay again so I can catch everything a second time. Yes. Yeah, sometimes we get distracted by those grandkids, don't we? So, okay, guys, take care, and I will see you later.